but to see them just falter early on like that, you know, and then to go against the previous tournament's champions, they're going to have to really switch something up here between those two matchups.
Well, game number 1 underway. It is Street Strongholds. It is one of Sentinels' better game types. Can we see them carry on that momentum from Kansas City? They've already won 1 series today, but 3 are already dead. Frosty, the last remaining player who is still alive, but is capturing B. That's something you've got to say is very successful. Even though you're the last remaining player, you're still doing the objective work, but they have given up the rockets.
Yeah, and that's a bit of a surprise, though, that you didn't see more pressure coming out from eUnited on the last player remaining. So it seems like these eUnited players must have been more focused on securing those rockets over getting that early hill time.
Not able to secure a kill, though, is Rayne. Does do a lot of damage over towards LethuL and will manage to get some damage, but it's not enough splash damage to take down Frosty, and it ends up being a trade. But all the meanwhile, eUnited have managed to take B and C. They are scoring. Manny gets aggressive onto SnakeBite, and Sentinels are going to be on the back foot now, spawning over towards A, spawning over towards KotH, but they are flooded round to C. It's clearly Sentinels want to try and take C away from eUnited here.
Yeah, Sentinels taking C, and I gotta wonder what the play is here from Manny. Is it still just try to block these spawns and give a little support over there? Does he need to charge over and help? And right there, I feel like there's just a lot of lost time there from Manny. Although it seems to work out in the end for his roster as they're securing a few of those kills on Tram, it felt like he was a non-factor for a good 10 to 15 seconds.
Certainly an indecisive nature about them, but they may have gotten away with it as RyaNoob just about goes down to LethuL. And A will not be secured, and it still means that Sentinels will be scoring, but all they have to do is kind of put their toe in it just for a few seconds, and they will have both A and B. But again, LethuL has done his job alongside SnakeBite and Frosty. Even though A was taken, the kills come through. 3 are now dead for the side of eUnited, and Sentinels can get aggressive, all 4 down, and they can take all 3 of these hills if they want to.
It looks like we're going to see potentially our first trip cap of the game, but Frosty, rather than going for that trip cap, decides to go help at C and let his teammate finish up over on that B side, hitting that little skillful jump and getting the flank on Rayne for that melee and the killing spree.
RyaNoob caught off guard as well, and there's going to be a double kill for Frosty. Now what an experienced player he is, and he's showing it there. The jump, getting behind a player, and also taking the rockets away from eUnited. There's that trip cap that you were speaking of. It is finally put into effect, and this is where Sentinels are at their best. When they're in control, when they have the structure, when Frosty has weapons like this, it's going to get very difficult for eUnited to get back into this game.
Such good heads-up play there from Frosty to realize that somebody may have already gotten past B. I would assume most situations there, most players have gotten a little greedy and assumed, all right, they're already over at PD side. There's going to be nobody here over at the cooler. But Frosty checking every little corner on this map.
Has the Bulldog to work with, and is going to be sneaky heading up these stairs. Does run into a couple of players, though, and still manages to get a trade. Very easily, we could have seen teams and players backing down there, but he knew he could get at least one and give the rest of the team the chance to push up towards KotH. But now what do eUnited do? How do they answer back? Now they've finally got a little bit of control here. Good shots coming out from Manny, but SnakeBite putting even better shots down as A once more will start to be flipped over towards Sentinels. 3 are dead for eUnited. Make that 4, and again, Sentinels step up.
Yeah, Sentinels step up, but here's the problem is they're on A and C side. At some point, they need to realize which side they want to hold so they can get B. It's kind of tough to hold these 2 opposite ends of the map, and that's why you notice how SnakeBite instantly rotated over through purple and went all the way towards C.
Tough to do, but if anyone can do it, it's probably Sentinels as SnakeBite, as you say, rotates to C, gets the kills, has done the damage, gets a double kill, can call out RyaNoob, and now look, the rockets are going to be coming up in 15 seconds as well, so SnakeBite looking to try and take advantage of the power weapons he has.
And somehow Sentinels able to make this A/C setup work. I was fully expecting SnakeBite at that point to just give up A, go towards B, and hold the 2 strongholds that are near each other, but maybe he felt like he was in a unique spot where he had shotgun and he could get a flank, but you know, ultimately just trading out a kill or so, and that's going to give your team some breathing room across the map.
Speaking of trades, LethuL manages to trade out with the rockets there. So there's only 1 rocket left on the map, I believe, and if someone can grab it, maybe they can make a real difference in these next few moments. But Frosty has been so important in a lot of these Sentinels pushes so far. He manages to get some shots down. LethuL finishes off with a grenade, and now A, B, and C in control. Sure, C's being flipped, but now here comes the collapse from Sentinels. SnakeBite and the rest of the squad all facing C, and they get the kill. This is excellent.
And look at that, just understand the situation so well. All the members of eUnited are stuck in C. They can go out on the bomb side of the map without fear of being shot from the sides or shot in the back, and that's why they're doing those challenges out in front of Tram, because they have them all isolated in one corner of the map.
173 to 46. Sentinels are dominating this game. Let's have a little listen in though with the Sentinels roster and see how the champs are feeling.
Yeah, they just won 3 to 1.
All laundry.
Pushing Matt. It's laundry one.
I spawn here.
Matt, they're coming Matt. They're cuts as well.
Yeah, I got one, and one's in B.
In B. Is music weak?
I got him.
Nice.
I'm gonna fucking
No one in B, no one in B.
Yeah,
I got spikes for B.
Okay.
TJ, go to C, go to C, go to C.
Yep. He's one hit capping B.
Yep. One went towards flowers.
Getting up,
lane.
P1, guys.
Finish up.
Yep. I spawned Ivy.
Rust is up if anyone wants to look at this.
Yeah, one's B.
RyaNoob weak.
Ryan,
One hit in B. Matt, I'm gonna go B steps.
Backing up a little bit, TJ.
Yep, B balcony.
I'm going to B, I'm going to B. Okay, let's cut mid, top tower, top tower.
Music, 2 music,
Top
Matt.
tower.
Weak Rayne.
B balance,
Can you-
Matt. B steps behind me.
I'm trying to
Can
get
you
him.
go
He's on me, kill me.
He's on me, Rayne. Hey, he's going top tower, top
Matt,
tower.
you're gonna play your life out for that, okay? Mid Matt.
It was Rayne, it was Rayne.
Rockets at
Yeah,
15, guys.
Are in C as well. Cuts weak on you.
Shot P1.
I spawn A, Brad. I spawn
Rockets
A.
in 10. Rockets
Spawn
in
here.
10.
No, he's one of his tires.
TJ.
I got him.
Nice.
Rockets.
Shotty's down there. Rockets in 5 as well.
There's one on A.
Yo, front C.
Oh, he's spawn here, okay.
On Rockets, RyaNoob.
Yep.
Top T1, weak Rayne.
Suspector, one at C-Balk. Suspector, weak on Ivy. You got Rockets?
He's driveway. He's driving weak. Okay, I'm looking driveway.
2 and C.
TJ, I have your driveway, I have your driveway.
Okay.
TJ, home mid map.
Three bottom C. Three bottom C.
Alright, everyone chill out, everyone chill out.
I'm going commando.
Just be hold.
Okay, driveway,
He's still on driveway. Still on the disruptor. 2 on the disruptor.
I'm gonna be
Two go back
fucking them.
commando.
Yo,
Two there.
P1 Manny, nice, TJ. Yo, TJ, run back.
Ivy.
Yeah, they're
Top
really
C-Balk.
weak.
Manny,
really
2
weak.
C-Balk. Chung out.
And some great small talk being put into effect from the Sentinels. They did look like they were a little bit shaky for a small moment, but just some small calls from Frosty saying, look, let's chill out, let's cut mid, all these important things that have to be put into effect. And Sentinels, they still have the lead here.
Yeah, a couple things to highlight there from communication. When it comes to top teams and callouts, it's not just barking out callouts as to where someone's at in one shot. Yes, knowing where enemies are located is incredibly important. However, it's the small talk and follow-ups in there. You notice callouts such as, Matt, after that, play your life. When they say play your life means you are going to be greedy. You need to expect that you're not going to get help. You're going to be kind of isolated on your own. So that means maybe back off into a corner. Maybe go to a flank. Go to an isolated position. Basically setting up the next position for your teammates so that they don't have to make that decision. They might not have the overall awareness as to what's going on with the big picture. And giving them that little information just makes it so much easier.
Sentinels have always historically been very calm with their communications, and we heard that just there. But 200 to 150, slowly but surely, eUnited are getting back into this game. They still hold A and B, and now they're looking for the spawns. They're looking to see where Sentinels are. They connect with one, but now they've lost a player. LethuL gets the first onto RyaNoob, and Sentinels are looking like they're trying to make a play over towards A. So Suspector has a decision to make. Do you face it or do you run? Unfortunately, he runs straight into Frosty, who gets a very important kill.
Yeah, and those 1v1s, you gotta be winning. We heard KotH talking about that earlier, like, yes, you can go into all this game theory and strategy, but ultimately, at the end of the day, there's a lot of points where it's just winning your battles. You need to win battles, hit more shots, put more damage out there. Like, we always highlight the strategy part, but we take it for granted how accurate and how good these players are just shooting and executing.
Frosty trying to put the Sentinel Beam to effect. Royal2, the last remaining player. BNC is still being held, but eventually we do see eUnited get in. They've been a little bit slow, have eUnited, into stopping these points being scored, but it won't matter if they can still win this game, of course. But they are allowing Sentinels to get closer and closer to that 250 mark. The Stalker Rifle falls, C still in control, and 2 have gone down. So eUnited doing very well at collapsing. 3 are dead now. LethuL, the last remaining player, and his back is quite literally against the wall at the moment. Rayne with some good grenades should be able to take him down. But even if he doesn't, it doesn't matter. The delay factor was huge there.
Yeah, and the damage has also been done there to LethuL. It's almost a spot where they can kind of stagger their kills a little bit. It almost worked out in a sense that Rayne didn't kill it right away and that he just left it for another teammate. So right here, eUnited is doing a good job delaying Sentinels from getting up to full power and having all 4 members alive at the same time.
And despite the fact this being one of Sentinel's stronger game types, certainly when we saw them in Kansas City anyway, eUnited are showing they can roll with the big dogs despite the changes they've made. 3 are dead at the moment, though. Sentinels are scoring once more. RyaNoob, the last remaining player, is he anywhere that can be found? It looks like he's going to be able to get his teammates up. They have B, and it's another A and C split here, Dave, and all they need is 10 more seconds, so we need a big push from eUnited in these final moments.
And the push is coming from B all the way over towards A. You saw all those members on the outline heading towards that, towards one of the final pushes, and not going to be enough as Sentinel's going to close that one out 250 to 198.
We do have to take our hats off to eUnited. They made it a very close game indeed, and it could have very much gone the other way because the early stages was a lot of control for the Sentinels roster, but they were just about able to kind of get enough points from those A and C splits. I know you were saying, like, I don't know how this is going to go. Are they going to be able to rotate accordingly? They found a way to make it work, and I think that's what's always what Sentinels have been good at, right? Is they've been able to find a way to maybe adjust the meta a little bit to their playstyle and still get the job done. 250 to 198 was the final score. 18 kills for Frosty, 19 for LethuL. I mean, we've given LethuL so much grief over the years for not being the main slayer of this roster, not getting enough kills. He's had such a hard time, but 5.4k for LethuL. He deserves his spot on this team.
Yeah, absolutely. Just being a key factor to obviously this team's success over its entire history, and right here to winning that game. I mean, a few of those deaths going either way. It could have been the control going in favor of eUnited, them finally getting to get their own trip cap and whatnot, but LethuL just played that so well.
And maybe he's got a point to prove, does LethuL? And he's certainly showing it here in game number 1 against eUnited in what was a closer game than maybe I expected, considering the history of Sentinels on this game type. But in online competition, there is always that chance that maybe some of those kills don't go your way, but eUnited really were able to prioritize their power weapon control at times. The rockets really went in their favor more times than not, and perhaps that's why they were able to pick up some key points as we look back at some of the highlights. What do you think was the kind of downfall of eUnited, though, here? What do you think went wrong for them here, Dave?
For me, it felt like there was a lot of times where eUnited players were not being active and in the fights. It felt like when they had numbers, Sentinels still were able to isolate fights and make it so, all right, yeah, it might be a 4v3 in favor of eUnited, but Sentinels just charge the other 2 or 3 members, and even though they have numbers advantage, it doesn't matter if you can isolate just a couple members. So I thought that was very well done by Sentinels, or you could argue could have been done better by eUnited.
I think that was very evident right at the start of the game as well, when Frosty was the last remaining player and still was able to capture B. Like, that can't happen, and eUnited do need to be quicker at pushing their advantages. You're completely right, and is that going to be evident the more we get into the series as well? Are we going to see these kind of factors evident in some of these other games? As we look at game number 2 is going to be Slayer Live Fire, and I did say, Walshy, this is one of Sentinel's worst game types, or at least it was at Kansas City, but maybe that means they've practiced it. Maybe that means they've put time into it, and perhaps that means that they will be able to go 2-0 up here. But eUnited, surely this has to be a main focus for them. They've got to win this Slayer, otherwise this series starts to get away from them.
Absolutely. I mean, especially if you're highlighting that Strongholds on Streets is one of their top 2 game types for Sentinels, that's not as convincing of a score line to take that game 1. So clearly, game number 2 is a must-win here for eUnited. And we'll see. I don't know if Sentinels are just saying, all right, we need to keep expanding our top game types, or are they saying, like, dude, there's 17 game types and modes combinations. We can't be best at them all.
You can't be good at everything, that's for sure, but one thing that Sentinels do manage to do is they improve week in, week out. They certainly will highlight their weaknesses, and they always manage to focus on some of those weaknesses to make sure they're not as weak. You can have weak game types, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to lose it every single time. We jump into game number 2, and we start things off with Frosty, who is usually a living highlight reel, and especially if he gets the sniper rifle that is going to be on the map. But it looks like eUnited have prioritized that sniper, but it's
no.
It's a double kill. It's 2 grenades coming out from both players, and Sentinels are 3-0 up.
It was just such easy deduction there from Frosty. So half the time when he pushes out towards the elbow, he's going to see some players there get in a fight towards Nest and back away. In this case, he just says, all right, there's nobody out here near this field or towards Nest. So in that case, that means they have to be top center towards OS. And little by little, their team communicates, gets the information, and by the time he doesn't even have to look around the corner, says, all right, there's got to be a bunch in top center then if we don't see him everywhere else.
Could be an overshield as well, not able to secure it. 8-3 though, and in the early stages, Sentinels have looked on fire here. Royal2 can't quite get hold of the overshield eventually. No, doesn't pop it. Manny takes him down. LethuL gets the trade though, and the overshield is still there and waiting for someone to grab. We are going to see an absolute barrage of grenades now happen over towards the overshield. It looks like Frosty was able to pop it, and Sentinels do win this battle of the OV.
Yeah, and right again, we're seeing this eUnited roster all kind of be clustered in one little area. It feels like the times that they do have somebody that's out and flanking, they're not being effective immediately. And then the other times it feels like they're all in the same area. So I feel like that's just one small thing we've seen past these couple games. Hard to say if that's a common recurrence without their team, but throughout these last couple games, we're just noticeably seeing them all clustered together or not being able to help from across the map.
Frosty spotted a player. He knows someone's at green. Suspector is certainly in his sights. He's just hiding enough as Frosty tries to get the whip, and if you are a Sentinels fan, you know full well that Frosty, when a sniper rifle is in his hands, he can really be deadly. He will reposition now, try and take a different angle so he can make this sniper count. Suspector wants that repulsor and will get it as well. Great aggression and great confidence to be able to take on a sniper. When you see that Frosty stood there, you know full well you have to put shots in, otherwise your face is going to be ripped off as another overshield is ripped away here from eUnited, and Suspector, the last remaining player, surely he doesn't get it, but he does get a double, and somehow, some way, but just take it away from it at the last moment.
No easy overshields being acquired here from either team. It's just a battle. You know, such a good rotation there from eUnited being all the way towards Nest side and rotating over, and here they go once again. They have the overshield. They're leading over towards B or towards green and gonna get these kills, and there's one down against LethuL. Can they get more over towards the A side?
14-14. Certainly eUnited have done very well to get back into this game, considering the start that they had and how they were all just clustered together and quite literally all faced a grenade at the same time and probably all said a prayer at the same time as they fell. But now Rayne with the sniper rifle, seeing if he can do some damage, will miss the initial shot, will back off, try and reposition and see if he can maybe take a different angle. And if he can get some shots going here, if eUnited can get on a flow and get some confidence, there's no reason why they can't take this game and no reason why they can't strip this game away from the Sentinels roster. But it's just how Sentinels are moving at the moment.
Just sniffed out there. That's such a difficult position. I thought Rayne had a great flank and the right weapon. You know, only a couple bullets in the sniper rifle, so not as big of a risk if he died or lost it, but just sniffed out. You just had that anchor in the form of LethuL sitting over towards that top tower, doing everything right for his team, watching their backs, laying down shots, being active, and that seems to be the story of this game. Gaskin, it's all 4 players engaged from the Sentinels roster, fighting as actively as they can, and then some of these members from eUnited get isolated or out of the fight.
One thing I will say is the sniper rifle has not really been an advantage for either team at the moment. RyaNoob gets a double, should be a triple. Doesn't quite connect with it though. LethuL was just able to get shields, I think, before that melee came through. And maybe RyaNoob will be a little bit frustrated about that one, but the cleanup does come through from Suspector. And now Manny has that sniper. I've said it's not really been put to effect. Maybe Manny can change the fortunes of this sniper rifle and this eUnited roster. Does connect with 2 body shots, but unfortunately is not enough to secure any kills because no one's there to clean it up.
No one there to clean it up, and then that's going to be overshield going in their hands. They obviously have a little bit of sniper ammo left, but this is such a massive advantage for Sentinels. They're going to isolate that first kill, and these players all over at green, they're going to get picked apart. This is going to be so difficult, and look at this collapse. There's one weak, there's a double. Here goes Suspector as nearly the triple, and Suspector at least salvaging a kill, but you just knew that boded terribly there for the eUnited roster. They're all stuck in that corner. There's no secured or covered routes to get out. You have to fight your way out.
Again, it's just one of those situations where you hold hands and you hope for the best, but unfortunately SnakeBite was running at them with evil in his eyes, and he was able to get a double. Unfortunately not the triple, but the damage perhaps done. 29-21. Sentinels roster really are performing well together. They are cleaning up each other's kills. They are effectively pushing as a unit, and where some of the weaknesses may have lied previously in this HCS season, it does seem like things have been cleaned up by the Sentinels roster as Frosty looking to try and initiate some damage here and initiate a push for the team, but 2 have gone down. This is eUnited's chance to try and wrestle back some control.
Yeah, this is their chance, but now we're going to see, do they find a way to collapse, to push, to expand that lead any further? They get 2 down, especially on a map like Livefire. You should be able to see some more open spawns. You should be able to fly and kill some players or force them down in the tunnels, but it feels like eUnited are a little content with just sitting back. Maybe they just want to set up for this next overshield coming up in 30 seconds.
It's a long time to wait, and it does give Sentinels the chance to take the initiative and maybe position themselves so they can have a better chance at getting that overshield. SnakeBite looks like he wants to get a little bit saucy with a flank. Does have a position to fight with Manny, but needs to retreat because Manny spotted him out very early indeed. And now, suddenly that overshield is only 10 seconds away, but where are eUnited?
Yeah, that surprises me. It looks like they're all going to fly together once again, going around the same route. The thing that I've been critiquing before, saying it feels like they might be all taking this, going in one same area and getting kind of clustered up. We'll see if it works out, but looks like RyaNoob gets a double. Suspector going to pick off LethuL. Somehow that play works out here for eUnited, all just taking the same route. I don't know how it works out. Sometimes maybe it's just hitting the shots and staying alive, or just committing and not looking back.
It's committing and hoping the grenades don't arrive at your feet, because we saw what happened earlier on in this game. But on this occasion, they're able to pick up that overshield. They're able to get the extra bits and bobs they needed. And suddenly, this is 30-29, and this is maybe a little too close for comfort, considering how far the Sentinels were ahead. RyaNoob doing his best to stay alive at the moment, but they know he's there.
He knows they don't have grenades at this point. He's bought so much time, but how are they not getting punished? That's one thing that we've seen a few times from these members of eUnited is they'll spot where someone's at, get some damage, they'll stay alive, they'll call it out, but there's no follow-up. It feels like even prior to the 6-minute overshield coming up, you saw SnakeBite kind of sneak behind enemy lines over dummies, run back towards tunnel, and met no resistance. Nobody jumping down to finish him off, no crossfire coming over from the yard.
And I do think that sometimes is just a team not being together long enough. We've got to remember, eUnited didn't form, they formed not so long ago. It must be said as RyaNoob gets a kill. Sentinels have been a roster for far longer, not just in this team, but anyone else in the HCS scene at the moment. And that can sometimes pay dividends. That can really be something that really swings things in your favor. But still within a shot are eUnited here. 35-33 as RyaNoob misses the shot of the sniper rifle, and it will be the last bullet. But now we're going to see what eUnited can do now they have the chance to kind of flank round and collapse. You can see Manny's on one side, RyaNoob and his teammate on the other. Yeah,
but is this kind of the late time to make this flank? We have Overshield popping up soon, and it looks like he's going to catch LethuL off guard, getting a couple shots in the back. LethuL going to roll down towards tunnel where he has his teammate SnakeBite down there. But RyaNoob and Suspector are going to win that 2v1 against LethuL. Yeah, it was a great push. Manny kind of initiated things from the other side, but they very quickly had to collapse. That overshield, as you say, is going to be in the hands of SnakeBite, and it maybe is too easy for Sentinels. eUnited weren't really able to get in a position, but the shots and the team shot coming out from eUnited very quickly shut down the Ovi. But Manny, the last remaining player, gets taken down by LethuL, 40-37, and Sentinels still are holding on to this lead, despite the fact eUnited are trying so hard to get back into things. Yeah, I mean, eUnited's made some great pushes from time to time, but yeah, you feel like there's some incompleteness during certain setups or different pushes. So the aggression's there when they're flying, things are clicking, but the rest of the time it feels like there's just a little something to be desired. Still one kill though. Yeah, with that being said, they're one kill away from arguably the best team right now. So, I mean, who am I to critique in this situation? Exactly. You've got to remember, this is 8th seed versus 1st seed. You've got to argue that maybe eUnited overperforming with it being this close, but I'll caveat that would be saying Sentinels, this is arguably one of their worst game types. So eUnited have to win this, you feel, if they are going to take this series. And it's definitely within a shot. Sniper rifle coming up is going to be spawning, and now we're going to see perhaps eUnited grab it and try and push with it. Suspector's going to be the player who does get his hands on that sniper rifle. Frosty knows it's there. Suspector hits a shot onto RyaNoob, and suddenly it's 40-40, and all the tools are there now for eUnited. 40-40, Suspector really going to have to be the player on his team to make this happen. This used to be the position that someone like Spartan was in before. Spartan used to be that player that they would drop that weapon for, let him get pick by pick, and right there, Suspector kind of getting taken out instantly. One thing I did notice from Suspector, though, was we rarely ever see it where somebody drops their main weapon to switch to sniper to get a faster no-scope. So expect to see that, you know, in Halo Infinite as a very commonplace in a year or so from now, but a little ahead of the curve there on that tech. Well, eUnited still haven't been able to get the lead, but now they have. 43-42. SnakeBite gets ejected off the map, and suddenly it explodes. It's 45-42. 3 are dead on the side of Sentinels, and eUnited have to take this advantage. They need to be making sure they now look for these spawns, collapse on these players, and try and get this victory here in game number 2. Yep, and you saw Rayne just sitting back, noticing that no one spawned over at green, but one of those question marks is, all right, is Rayne kind of on the picture right now? How are they going to collapse in together? They have the overshield, they have the advantage. Now, how do they secure these final kills? Sentinels retreat, and they go back into house. They leave bottom middle very vulnerable for a flank at the moment. Manny also has the overshield, so all the tools still in the side of eUnited to win this game, but it's about putting them into effect. Grenades are going to be waited for. Frosty is away from the rest of the team at the moment. You can see how slow both teams are playing this. Only 1 minute and 17 left on the clock as well, Walshy. Yeah, we're seeing these Slayer games just slow down in general, at least already today. There was never a question of, is this game going to go to 50 kills before the time limit? Like, even the last tournament, there would be an occasional map that took a little bit longer, maybe something like a Bazaar or Slayer, but we've never really seen this on live fire. Well, one thing Sentinels have done is they've negated that overshield. Manny's run out of it, but 54 seconds, Sentinels have to make a push. Otherwise, eUnited are just going to slowly but surely win this game. What do Sentinels have? Manny is taking a position where he gets a kill onto RyaNoob. Such an effective flank. Those were things we were missing before. We'd see someone like Manny in position over on Streets, over at the B Stronghold, but not able to do the damage. That was such a great flank from Manny, and that could be very well what's going to secure this win here for eUnited. And look at that spike grenade. finishing off Frosty with Suspector's help.
Frosty gets one. It's 48-44. eUnited have been behind this whole game, but now there's 24 seconds for Sentinels to try and get 4 kills. And it's not going to be easy because eUnited are just running away. They're rotating together. Frosty has spotted them out. Are we going to see a quick enough collapse here? eUnited now 4 kills ahead. 10 seconds left here, Dave. They get 49, and surely it's going to be an easy 50. There is not enough time here for Sentinels to get the kills, and this is going to be eUnited's game. We're tied up 1-1.
Such a brilliant ending there from eUnited, and I guess we saw a very similar thing that was happening when they pushed those overshields, is they would just kind of fly together. They would say, all right, we can go 2 and 2 in an area, or just 3 and 1 and fly out in one spot, and if they meet any resistance, they're going to melt that player real fast and continue with that charge. I really like that compared to just sitting back at a game time where, you know, maybe they can poke and prod and hunt down all 3 of them or all 4 of you. I mean, the best way I could describe that difference would be earlier when we saw eUnited all stuck over at green. They were, you know, shot from every single angle and then finished off one by one. They got all 3 of them, and I believe Suspector got 1 finish at the end on SnakeBite. For the most part, it was like a 3 or 4 for 1. That last period in time, they just all charged one direction, went trade for trade, closed out the game.
All they needed, and you know, after being behind for the entire game, suddenly it was 42-42, and that just explosion of 3 kills going in favor of eUnited, and the time that was left, they were able to just kind of play those final moments perfectly. Maybe a RyaNoob masterclass. We know RyaNoob likes to play the game in a certain way, and he seems to be kind of commanding this team in a very effective way as well as they tie up the series 1-1. SnakeBite had 17 kills, but it was not enough for Sentinels. But remember, it is statistically Sentinels' worst game type out of all of them when it came to them performing at Kansas City and in online tournaments leading up to this tournament. As we look at the damage, though, we'll see if maybe there was a big standout. 4.9k for Manny. I mean, Manny did a lot on his own. I've noticed that Manny sometimes is kind of that flanking player, or that player is left on his own, and as long as he can do damage like that, they're going to be fine. Exactly,
and I think that's going to be the fine balance that eUnited are going to have to solve for them to elevate to that next level, to not drop any series that they shouldn't drop. It's going to be a situation where if they have someone who's flanking or up at a tower, if they realize they don't have the angle or can't lay damage at that point, they need to reposition and get involved with the fight.
Well, it was an excellent start for Sentinels, but eUnited were just able to chop away at them throughout the entirety of this game, and the overshield, it was kind of scrappy every single time as well. Neither team was really able to get a clean overshield, aside from maybe one, I think, that went in favor of the Sentinels. This was that push that you were talking about that very easily could have been a triple here as well.
Yeah, essentially, like, that was a 4 for 1 in favor of Sentinels as they were all corralled in one area, and then towards the end here, you notice eUnited, they just say, we'll be the aggressors. They're just going to push across the map and get all their kills.
What a play it was from Rayne and RyaNoob there as well, just to eject SnakeBite off the map. And at this point, when there was such little time left, for eUnited, it was just about putting those pieces together and making sure that puzzle is complete. And they do find the victory, 50-45 in the end. But I don't think the scoreline tells the whole story. But all that matters is eUnited will tie up the series as we go into game number 3, which is going to be King of the Hill Recharge. Any thoughts or feelings about this one, Dave, just from what we've seen so far?
From what we've seen so far, we're going to need to see all those members of eUnited engaged in on those fights. If we see somebody too far away over at Control or over at Elevator in a situation like this and not being effective, that's going to come back to hurt eUnited. However, King of the Hill is going to be quite different now. You know what I mean? Like, there's not going to be these rotating objectives. It's going to be, they can park down in one area for a while and be in an effective spot. So I feel like that shouldn't come back to bite them as much.
I do think that Sentinels have been better at King of the Hill game types than the Strongholds game types on particular maps. So I would rather see Sentinels play Recharge King of the Hill rather than Recharge Strongholds, for example. So I think that bodes well for Sentinels as we look at the rest of these game types. But that being said, with eUnited's strategy and how eUnited have been playing this game, I do worry that actually eUnited might be able to take this one if they can kind of be as effective as they were in those final moments. Like, the structure that they held in those final moments is going to be very important in a King of the Hill game type where you really have to set up and also break setups.
Yeah, I feel like eUnited has this clear, like, pause and go signals that they have on their team. It's almost like they all know when they're on the same page. They're all flying together. They're all pushing the same direction together. There's no question that they have a coordinated strategy together. And we'll have to see if, you know, King of the Hill's going to be the same. If they're going to take the little pauses, wait for their whole team to spawn, and then make a push out, or if they know how to, like, poke and prod the hill, back up, stay alive, because both those are effective, but it all depends what the whole team's doing.
It does. It does depend on what they're doing. And I've got to say, if Sentinels win this series 3-1, I don't think anyone will bat an eyelid. They'll say, they dropped a Slayer, it was live fire, one of the worst game types. However, if this goes to a game 5, if it goes a little bit further, if eUnited are able to get an objective off of Sentinels, That begs the question, how good are Sentinels going to be in this tournament? If 8th seed is taking games off them, especially objective games, where do Sentinels kind of lie? In predictions, we've said Optic are kind of favorites, but Sentinels, of course, are the reigning champions coming into this one. Are they going to be good enough if they're dropping games? I think this Game 3 is going to tell us a lot about what Sentinels have to offer. I don't know if you would agree with that.
I agree for the most part. Generally, you see teams that are dominating earlier in pool play, earlier in Saturday, go on to win on late Sunday. But Sentinels tends to be that little anomaly where, you know, they almost lost Game 5 to Quadrant at Kansas City, and then they came out as our champions in Kansas City. So it's hard to say, you know, how does a Friday or Saturday Sentinels look compared to the Sunday Sentinels?
A Sunday Sentinels is certainly a different squad, but are we going to see the Friday Sentinels still be able to pull through here in game number 3? It's going to be Recharge King of the Hill. That bottom hill is always so difficult to play. The 3 members have already fallen for Sentinels, and eUnited are setting up to try and get some time in the early stages. RyaNoob was last remaining player and gets the trade.
That was so smart from RyaNoob. Even that, like, 1v1 engagement, he rounds the corner, and the first thing that RyaNoob does when he goes back to fight Suspector is closes that gap so he's within melee distance. So as he's trading a couple shots back and forth, he can get that melee trade. That's such a big difference instead of just doubling back and then trying to fight a BR fight down 2 shots. So those are little differences you'll see from those top pros as to how they get some of those trades. They know how and when they can close those gaps and how to output as much damage as possible, even in a disadvantageous position.
That being said, eUnited have still been able to get a significant amount of time in this first hill as Sentinels are trying to position themselves to set up for the next. But we're going to see LethuL have to hit some shots here if they're going to be able to prioritize this hill and also score the first one. Because at the moment, everything's going towards eUnited and they should be capping this first one if LethuL doesn't get in a position. And that's going to be 1-0. eUnited, an amazing first hill for them. And now they've got the numbers advantage to push to the second.
Yeah, you notice how Sentinels, their goal was just to get a kill or two. Hopefully with someone being down in the middle of the pit, being more exposed, get some damage, get a kill, and set themselves up for the next stronghold, or for the next hill. But in that case, it backfired. Somehow they went down a couple members, and eUnited already trying to put this second hill on the board. Only 19 seconds have passed over the course of these first 2 hills where someone hasn't been in the hill.
It's been an amazing start from eUnited, and it looks like unless we see a very quick and effective push from Sentinels, it could be a very quick 2-0 as well. Manny using the repulsor to send one player away, says goodbye, now I can get away, now I can get some assistance, and Suspector gets 3, and suddenly Sentinels are going to be 2-0 down here because LethuL, the last remaining player, will not stop this hill.
This is so scary. Now, what I really wonder here from the Sentinels roster, oh my god, so here's what's happening here from eUnited. I haven't heard from them about this yet, but their idea is that they're already up 1 hill. They're pretty much guaranteed to get this second point. So they're going to wait as long as possible, try to drain that clock a little bit, and then they have to decide at what point later on in this game do they decide just to no longer go for the hill at all. Instead, just go for slays and let the clock drain out.
We saw eUnited do it on Recharge, on Livefire King of the Hill, excuse me, earlier on in this tournament, and it was effective. It was nerve-wracking, but effective. I think what they wanted to do there was maybe get behind enemy lines and stop Sentinels from setting up in Elevator, but they were not able to do so. Suspector went down, and now Sentinels do have the chance here with a setup.
What was actually most surprising to me during that long haul hill was I almost thought that they were just going to let actually Sentinels try to fight for it and like let it drain like another 30 seconds, 60 seconds, make Sentinels truly commit to that hill in order to get control of it again.
It does seem like they perhaps gave up on that strategy very quickly. Maybe they thought the Suspector was in a good enough position. Who knows? But Sentinels have been able to pick up a point here now, and they could arguably do the same thing. But no, they will secure it. It's 2-1, and it was a far too easy hill, it has to be said, for Sentinels, as maybe eUnited looking to set up for the next.
We've been seeing a lot of hill games actually end by time, but this is one of the situations where we somehow already have 3 on the board with less than a minute elapsing out of the in-game time. So I also would not be surprised to see this one go all the way to 5 captures if eUnited decide just to commit to that strategy.
Some big kills coming out from eUnited. No one in the hill just yet. This hill is equally as difficult, especially if someone sets up towards gold. They can really drill you in that hill. Frosty gets engaged in the fight. Rayne will get the trade. 3 members had fallen because it was a triple kill, and RyaNoob looking to try and make it more. Royal2 has that shock rifle in hand. RyaNoob wants to take it off him and will do so. And now RyaNoob with the chance to really put this weapon to effect. I want to see someone pop off with it. We've already seen it happen once. Septify did it, I think, earlier in a series today, and maybe RyaNoob can be the next to do it in this series.
Yeah, and you're going to need it. And what you're seeing RyaNoob right now do is try to just pick off players, pick off any of these Sentinels reinforcements that are going towards this hill. Look at this reposition, just going all the way towards gold, getting a triple, almost getting the overkill, but SnakeBite going to shut that down and also put some pressure on the hill, so somehow not getting more pressure from these eUnited members, even though he's in the very center of the map.
Very important kill from SnakeBite, otherwise this hill probably would have been gone in favor of eUnited, even though it's got very far as SnakeBite goes for a little swim, has the goggles on, swim shorts also part of it. But now eUnited slow things down ever so slightly because this is the effect they have. They have a lead and they can force Sentinels to now go into this hill where they are vulnerable and they will be able to just toss grenades and perhaps get the opening. But it's not always that easy when Sentinels are setting up as well. RyaNoob will be able to push through control here, does have to take the fight with SnakeBite, wins it as well, and RyaNoob has been excellent this tournament.
And they have numbers. What does eUnited do with numbers now? Are they going to get an isolated 1v1s? Look at this. Royal2 and Frosty both sitting in that corner. They get the kill on Suspector with a sword. Frosty also gets a repulse on Rayne, so somehow we're going to have to find where RyaNoob and Frosty engage, and here's the fight. This is going to decide who has control of this hydro area. It's going to be RyaNoob.
11 kills for RyaNoob, but hill being gained by SnakeBite and the Sentinels roster. One down on both sides. SnakeBite just back to the wall, knows full well someone could push at any moment, trying to watch as many angles as possible, but of course, you can't watch every angle. He gets shot by a shock rifle in the end, Suspector comes out of nowhere, and now this is the opportunity for eUnited to try and guarantee this hill and go 3-1 up. And if you go 3-1 up, that's when suddenly time becomes a factor. Frosty comes out from the depths, does manage to get the kill alongside LethuL. Massive kills here for Sentinels.
Yeah, those were huge kills from LethuL. One thing you notice that these players are doing is when they have control of this bottom hill, rather than just separating your power and having somebody go up on top hydro and somebody down in the hill, they both just go down low and they say you can double team someone in the center at batteries, or they can just turn around and melt anyone that drops from hydro.
Frosty repositioning with a shock after he gets spotted out by RyaNoob. And RyaNoob has fallen as well. Suspector the next player in the targets of Frosty, but not able to do the damage. Manny's also very weak. Probably a one-shot, but still gets away. But it's okay because Sentinels are scoring. They'll be happy. They just need to force these players back. And we're going to be tied up 2-2. So even though eUnited got so much time to begin with, Sentinels still tie us up.
And that's a scary position to be for eUnited. You know, you get that hot start, you want to carry that momentum, you want to carry that lead, and it just gets diminished so quickly. So this could very well be one of the final hills here, depending on how back and forth it goes. These teams and players are going to have to obviously first get this lead, but then secondly, on that next hill, you can absolutely slay out if you need to.
Oh, of course, because it resets, it goes back to bottom middle, and we've already seen that in other games today that it can go for an age with the amount of grenades that can be sent off spawn time and time again. Suspector now in a position with the shock rifle and a sword in the back pocket just to protect him in case anyone gets up close and personal. LethuL does, but what a stick. That's so important to shut down both the shock and the sword, and now it allows Sentinels to push up on this eUnited roster, get some kills, and maybe even get some time here.
And here it is, Sentinels and Frosty, like you said, they're moving in towards elevator. They get that kill on Rayne, and they feel comfortable. They're in a 3v2 scenario for a short bit, and they know they can scrap up a little bit of time. But look at this pressure still coming from the center of the map. Suspector somehow slipping through and flying all the way into the hill.
Suspector's been doing it all game long. He's getting behind enemy lines. He's fantastic at just pushing himself through and penetrating in defense. One is down, and that is Suspector, though. And now Sentinel's looking to try and take advantage. LethuL's still alive, needs assistance from SnakeBite, and SnakeBite's baiting at the moment. He's waiting, he's hoping that Manny pushes through, but Manny had the plasma pistol, gets the kill, and now suddenly it's a 3 versus 3, but still LethuL in this position has done so much damage. He's just been positioning himself in a way that eUnited have not been able to press.
Yeah, and they've just been really posturing to take over this elevator area. They realize at some point if one of these players has elevator, you can't really do as much against them. Look at this SnakeBite going to try to fight for his life here against Suspector and crew and keep this area down. This 1v1 is going to be so crucial. No trades just yet, and the help comes through by LethuL.
LethuL's done very well at cleaning up those kills. It's the job that he has always found himself throughout Halo 5 and Halo Infinite, is listening to those callouts, picking up on the damage that some of the main slayers do elsewhere on this Sentinels roster. SnakeBite now scoring time. Looking over towards top gold to see if anyone's going to be pressuring and pushing. Does manage to get a lot of damage done on the other side. eUnited effectively using that shock to make sure they can get the damage done onto the hill.
Yep, they got the damage, they got to pick, but they have something to worry about. They know inside those pipes is Frosty with the sword, so they have to decide how they're going to deal with them.
2 are down. Rayne pushing it with Manny. Do take down SnakeBite as well, so that's 3 dead. Frosty's the last remaining player. He's in no man's land. He will fall very easily. And now with 59 seconds left, if eUnited could take the lead here, this could be massive.
Yeah, they would just go for Slades on Slats Hill without a doubt. But one thing that's really troubling here for Sentinels is those spawns got staggered. Frosty died really late there over in batteries. That gives eUnited so much time here to first get a lead on this hill, but now it's going to come down to this next round of slaying. Whoever gets this next round of slaying is almost certainly going to secure this hill, or at least that should happen for eUnited. We'll have to see Sentinels again.
LethuL goes in, but is anyone else there to pick up the time? 3 are dead for eUnited. Suspector, the last remaining player.
Still time.
And there is still time, as now Sentinels have to perfectly hold this hill to stop eUnited from even dipping their toes in it.
Yep, and here's what eUnited have to decide. Do they fly in towards hill and try to get this person out? In fact, Sentinels realize the situation, say, we're just going to step out for a moment, but it can be scary. These members of eUnited can step in for just a moment in time and secure this. It did not happen, though. So here comes the collapse on collapse. That's all 4 down for eUnited. I don't know if they'll have another push on this hill.
You see the pings, you see the areas of the focus. RyaNoob tries to do damage. Now in comes Manny as well. It's a big... What? You can't let him get in. He doesn't. He gets taken down. Sentinels still hold the hill. Here comes Suspector, though. It's a big...
Oh, no.
Sentinels got the point. And now with 48 seconds left, Sentinels find themselves 3-2 up.
You know, eUnited were able to make this hill happen last time, but I don't feel like they're going to have the same luxury here. Sentinels have been able to disperse across the map. They're going to have multiple angles here. They have a camo and a grapple in the hands of SnakeBite. This hill is going to be a tall order, especially since Sentinels, they're not going to commit to it at all.
Well, RyaNoob does get a double kill. That's at least the beginning of the chances for eUnited to get this hill. RyaNoob gets another one. Sentinels have lost 2, but SnakeBite answers back with one of his own. And for Sentinels, it's an easy objective. Keep eUnited out of this hill. Outslay them for 20 seconds. And I love this from SnakeBite. Grab that sword, put it into effect in some of these close quarter areas, really control this map as we get one last push realistically for eUnited, but SnakeBite does shut it down. 3 are dead as Rayne is the last remaining player, and as time ticks down, it looks like Sentinels are going to do exactly what eUnited would want to do. They let the time tick away, and they will just about win it with that last slay. Sudden death though, last remaining chance. 2 are still alive. Are we going to be able to see anything from these final pushes? It doesn't look like it. All 4 dead. Sentinels will go 2-1 up in this series.
And that was looking so scary to start it out. It just felt like eUnited had strategy and lockdown. I mean, they weren't even outslaying that heavy. They, you know, at the very beginning, they outslayed by 6 kills, and they got the first 2 hills. After that, it's just Sentinel-sided.
It was Sentinel-sided, and honestly, Sentinels played that in such a risky way as well, that 5th hill, because they backed out of it, they waited for the push to come through, and then they were grenading. And if one of those grenades doesn't connect, if eUnited hold that hill for like half a second, suddenly Sentinels lose that game.
It was a little scary. I mean, they did have that small little wiggle room where somebody has to convert the hill, but it's just a short period of time. I think their fear was, if we die here, if we give up 1 more kill from our free hill person, we're done for. And so what they did is they kind of set a perimeter around it over from the elevator side so that they could have people damage and hurt anyone from eUnited that got desperate and stepped in the hill, and that's exactly what happened. eUnited thought they could slip that one out from under their nose, but did not happen as Sentinels were on guard defending the hill.
It was a great defense for sure, and eUnited knew they had to full send it because otherwise Sentinels take the game, so they were kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't. RyaNoob with 21 kills, I have to say, he had a great game, but unfortunately just not enough to take down Sentinels. On the other side, Frosty with 20. I mean, it was a very back and forth game between these two sides, and we really are starting to see what this eUnited roster can do.
Yeah, and taking a quick look at the damage, the 2 top kill leaders for Sentinels, also the damage leaders, put in 6,200 damage apiece there for Royal 2 and Frosty.
And when we saw reUnited earlier, it was a reverse sweep that they had to achieve to get back into a series, and they find themselves 2-1 down here, which wouldn't be a reverse sweep, but of course it would still be a comeback if they get back into it. But eUnited look far better now than the eUnited we saw earlier, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, if I'd seen this is their first series of the day, I'd be like, all right, eUnited, they're making top 4 without a doubt, you know, disregarding that first series, but they're looking strong. They have their moments, but they also have their slight disconnects, and I think that's the only thing they work on. I mean, that's sometimes great and also sometimes frustrating to be like so close to greatness. To be like, oh man, if we just do these 1 or 2 situations different, or we get on the same page this way or that way. But, you know, they have all the right players. They have a good mix. We're going to have to see if they can piece it all together here throughout this event and this series.
You can see that the strategy's there for eUnited. As we look back at some of the moments that really did make or break this game for both teams, there were so many kind of multi-kills, there was doubles, there was triples that really changed things. The repulsor was such a factor, and of course the sword was as well. But it was just that final moment, those final moments really from Sentinels by taking that risk in that last hill to score a point. This was it. When the desperate moments came in from eUnited, Sentinels were there, they were waiting, the grenades came through, and even though it was a risk, it was executed perfectly.
Yep, and look at that, the Sentinels. They won the last tournament for a reason. They're clutch when they need to. They're now up 2-1 in this series here against eUnited.
And where do we go next? We go to Capture Flag Aquarius. Capture the Flag, excuse me. And I will say that this is Sentinel's best game type, without a shadow of a doubt. When they played it at Kansas City, they played it 8 times, won it 7 times. I think the only time they lost it was against either Cloud9 or Optic, and you're going to lose games to those guys every now and then. So this is not looking good for United when we go into Capture the Flag Aquarius. That being said, with how United have implemented their strategy and their approach to the game of Halo Infinite, there is no reason why they can't win this game full. Yeah,
I mean, this is one that they should have no problem rolling their advantage when they get it, because it's a clear green light to go straight to the flag, go to the opposing base. It's a clear destination. So, and even if someone is sitting back a little bit more, you can be much more of a turret here on Aquarius. You can be over towards top pink or top car and help either isolate where the players are at.
And I think there is 2 very different approaches from these teams when it comes to not just this game, but this game, this Halo Infinite, right? Not just this map, but Halo Infinite in general. RyaNoob has always said he plays the game in a very different way to Sentinels. I think at one point he said that Sentinels don't know how to play the game, right? That's been the back and forth between these guys. There's been a lot of history between eUnited and Sentinels, and even though it changes with Spartan not being on this roster anymore, there was always going to be that little bit of a back and forth between these guys with RyaNoob and the Sentinels roster. Well, now you've got to prove it. Now you've got to put it into effect. If you can beat them on their best game type, then suddenly we start to say, okay, eUnited, they are the real deal here. But if this goes to a 3-1, we say, well, Sentinels, they dropped to Slayer. Who cares, right? You drop Slayers sometimes in pool play. It's not the Sunday Sentinels, perhaps. But this is going to be the be-all and end-all, I feel, for this series. If we can see maybe the early stages going in favor of eUnited, try and disrupt the strategy of this Sentinels roster, there's no reason why they can't get back into the series, take us to another Slayer, and suddenly then things get to be very possible at winning this series. But it has to happen now. Capture the Flag Aquarius, our champions from Kansas City. Can they take the series here and now?
Here we are, SnakeBite starting off, getting that thrust, but running into 2 different players, but I think it's the Sentinel strategy, or obviously a strong strategy here in Halo Infinite. When in doubt, if you're about to die, close that gap and get a melee in.
When in doubt, melee out, or sometimes get a grenade out as well. And certainly we are seeing melees very effective in Halo Infinite, as already RyaNoob in the base as Frosty takes down SnakeBite with his own grenade. And that might be the opening that eUnited desperately needed.
There's an imposter on the team. LethuL, not sure if you take him out as well. But yeah, that is such a difficult spot. You know, just seeing where RyaNoob's position was. He's in a spot saying, all right, if we get a kill or 2, I'm running this flag. And I like this. He brings the flag towards the center and then puts a second angle here on these Sentinels members. This is so difficult for Sentinels to deal with. They can't just look in one direction and clear out RyaNoob. And look at this back and forth being such a difficult kill. Even though they're able to recover that flag, Sentinels don't feel safe just yet. But even though they don't feel safe, they still are hitting the gas and flying towards the eUnited flag.
RyaNoob is a slippery player, that's for sure. Now he comes back to his own base and will put damage down to make sure this flag gets returned. That whole passage of play, excellent from RyaNoob.
Yep, and that was also interesting, just kind of knowing when to still stay and do this charade of running around the base and delaying a player versus coming back and helping your teammates. I think that was, if I'm being critical of my own gameplay, I think I never knew when to like come back to the flag. I'm like, all right, I'm behind enemy lines, I'm staying here. You all go on without me, I'll stay.
A deep dive into the history of Walshy. Maybe the reason why you lost some games here. But certainly RyaNoob, you know, the way he strategizes, the way he plays, he is an effective player at getting behind enemy lines. But as you say, knowing when to come back is the most important thing, because otherwise you leave your teammates for dead, as RyaNoob will fall.
Yeah, and one thing that was interesting too about RyaNoob's scoreline right now is all that time he is being so active and doing so much damage and distracting so much. He had 0 kills at that time. By the time he came back, that's where he got his first couple kills on the map, but just goes to show how effective you can be where the stats don't fully show it.
Sometimes just your presence on the map can make a real difference as the flag moving once more. LethuL trying to do some damage behind enemy lines as well. Did toss out that flag originally. Now the flag out for both sides. SnakeBite has fallen, so has RyaNoob. It's a 3 versus 3 with Manny getting that kill. And LethuL just not really knowing what to focus on at the moment. He's like listening to call-outs. He wants to stop this flag. He's in such a good position to do some damage and gets the kill. That's a huge kill for the rest of the team to now push up and try and get this return.
But eUnited has this flag so far. Suspector knows there's some danger though. There's SnakeBite on the return. Frosty already back on the flag to get the new pull, and we could see a counter pull and counter cap here coming out Sentinels.
And it all came from LethuL as well. He was waiting in that base. He was being able to posture himself to really put his presence down. We were literally just talking about how a presence can make an effect. RyaNoob takes down SnakeBite. There is trades that happen elsewhere. 2 have fallen for the Sentinels roster, and this flag might just be a dead one. And because RyaNoob knows that, he's pushing ahead of it. LethuL will try and take the fight. If LethuL wins it, it could be huge. But with him going down, this flag surely is dead now.
Yeah, that's just being greedy in a good way. It's not taking those extra 5 to 10 seconds to go return the flag and then go get the pull. It says, all right, we can return this on the way back, or somebody else who's reinforcements, who's further behind, can get the recovery. Looks like RyaNoob's even setting up for a double cap. Now, will this work out? We'll come back to bite him. They get the first cap in, and there's a second pull from RyaNoob going through the closet.
It was perfect from RyaNoob. He gets the double kill, and now he can do the objective work. And this could be a quick fire double to really pummel Sentinels into the ground on one of their best game types. Has to avoid the grenades now. Surely this is far enough. No, there's the last minute ditch attempt from LethuL. Manages to get the flag out, and he's trying to return this one. Will eventually fall, but is the damage already done? 2 players have gone down from eUnited. Royal2 now in a spot with the heatwave to do some damage at the same time, and what looked like a guaranteed flag is suddenly ripped away from eUnited. It's a triple kill from Royal2. All 4 dead on the side of eUnited, and now the flag is moving from SnakeBite, but they didn't get the return.
Yeah, no recovery yet, so it looks like we're going to go to a flag stalemate here in just a moment, and there's the flag recovered. I did not see who from Sentinels was over in that half. I guess it must have been LethuL getting back over there, and we got ourselves a tie game, Gaskin.
Wow. What could have been a 2-0 lead for eUnited is suddenly stripped away from them in a matter of seconds, thanks to god plays from both LethuL and Royal2. Every member of Sentinels really stepping up when they needed to. And now, will Sentinels put this into effect as all 4 have fallen again for eUnited? Are they going to knock the confidence of this roster? They're spawning over towards Fridge, and they are going to be trapped by SnakeBite and the rest. This is a guaranteed cap. Tossed up, bang, it's in, it's 2-1.
And look at that, just methodical run right there. LethuL helping in the fish across the map, but these players just being so effective non-stop. And it's just those little slip-bys, sometimes not watching that one angle that stopped that flag, or trying to understand, all right, do we need to drop this flag in our closet and then get some slays? You know, trying to figure out exactly what went wrong. That team will have to figure it out after this game, because if they take a pause to think about right now, their flag is already out, and this could be a 3rd flag heading across the map here for the Sentinels.
LethuL has been flawless so far here on Aquarius capture the flag. Not only is he getting the kills, he's doing the objective. He was the one who was getting the returns and initiating those returns. He might not have put that flag in, but has he got far enough across the map? Surely someone is in the region to do it. It looks like they are, and SnakeBite will punch this one in for a 3-1 lead, and you can really see why Sentinels are so good at this mapping mode.
Yeah, even a time where it looks like they start to be down and out, they turn it from a situation where it's going to be 2-0 to a counter cap, and now they have 3 on the board. Just super effective with their slays and caps, though, because as I do math quickly, they're even in slays, but up by 2 caps.
Up by 2 caps, they've just been effective. And that second cap they scored was absolute perfection, and really is one you should watch back, with how they were kind of holding the spawns and also the positions they took. And of course the final member just waiting for the toss-up can really make a difference in time of capture, so you avoid the grenades. Suspector will have the camouflage, and you know, there is still time for eUnited to get back into this one. It is not over just yet, but with the Sentinels roster and how they've been playing at the moment, it's difficult to believe that eUnited can get back into it.
Yeah, this is also scary though. A time where Suspector has camo, he's alive in the center of the map, and he feels like he's on the defensive. This flag is moving across the map and couldn't do anything about it. In fact, it felt like Suspector's just pinned down over at Car 2 or Dinos while he has that power-up.
Manny's the last remaining player. Frosty manages to dipsy-doodle his way into the closet here and still will be alive, still running this flag, gets his shield back, and wham bam, thank you ma'am, that's 4-1. Sentinels again find a way to get this flag across the map, even though eUnited had the camo.
Yeah, United had camo. It also felt like even there in that situation where Frosty ran that flag in, he knew he could desperate it in. It wasn't like a chance where it felt like United was taking a chance last time they brought their flag in. But here comes a few members of Sentinels Sentinels backed into a corner, having to fight their way out. They're getting taken out one by one. eUnited has the kills on the board. Can they get the flagpole? And yes, they do. They get it going over towards Closet side. They find SnakeBite in the bottom center, and that's going to be the kill that they need. Now just they need to stop someone from slipping by. That's their biggest thing. How did Suspector get taken out, though?
SnakeBite took him down.
SnakeBite.
Even though RyaNoob found SnakeBite, SnakeBite had already got that kill, and that's what Sentinels have done so well so far this game, is prioritizing those kills and getting the damage done when they need to. Flag is moving though, and Frosty trying to get on a little bit of an overextension here. Him and LethuL are in a spot where they can get into this base, and SnakeBite again gets the opener for them here.
Yeah, and right, just like that, RyaNoob knows that somebody's behind. I think that nade was intended for LethuL. Finds a little bit of damage on Frosty, but that flag is recovered. We have Sentinels tossing out their 5th and final flag and getting camo in the hands of Royal 2. I don't know what eUnited's answer is to stop this right here.
Well, eUnited, they've overextended all 3 members over towards Fridge. Frosty was on the other side of the base. He needs to make sure he gets back so he can help. SnakeBite is going to thrust his way out. Well, actually, he just forces his way out. It's a curb slide rather than a thrust, as the flag will be taken. And this one isn't necessarily a guaranteed one for Sentinels. eUnited have done very well by overextending and delaying this to a point where Sentinels are having to work so hard to get it, and that flag will eventually get returned.
Flag recovered. They get to breathe a little bit, but at the same time, you have to start looking at the clock, Gaskin. 3 minutes and 15 seconds left. That means eUnited is going to have to put a flag or 2 on the board soon so they don't put themselves in some impossible endgame scenario.
RyaNoob trying to force a flag through bottom middle. He's one shot, but he's still alive, but Royal 2 sees him, gets another kill, gets the killing spree, and will stop that flag from being run. 3 are dead on the side of eUnited, and Sentinels in command once more.
One thing that was great there about Royal 2 as well, as he's laying that damage down, he's on that little ledge so that he can get that slight angle to fight that player towards bottom center, and then it's the second that he starts getting shot in the back, he gets to drop down from that ledge and run to safety. So he just puts himself, it feels like a little bit more open, but he has the flank right then. He's not as worried about exposing himself as much towards the bomb center.
We need to see 3 flags in 2 minutes and 30 seconds from eUnited, and even though it's not impossible, at the moment it looks improbable because Sentinels have just been holding so strong. But flag is on the move, Rayne is going to run it, but if he falls, this is again what's happened to eUnited, is they get the flag out, but the flag runner gets taken down, and it's near impossible to capture a flag when the flag runner gets shut down that early.
Yeah, whether you view it as eUnited overlooking how to protect their flag or Sentinels getting some good stops, both the times when they're getting the flag first out and by the time they get their flag to the closet, eUnited run into some issues of getting that flag in those 2 specific scenarios.
And this really has been a lesson from Sentinels in how to play Aquarius capture the flag. 4-1 up, camouflage now in the hands of Royal 2. Are they going to be able to just put that exclamation mark on the end of this game by winning it 5-1? It's a little 360 back smack in the end from Royal 2. There is a flag on the move as well. eUnited should be 2 down, will be 2 down. LethuL tosses that one out, but he knows it's just delaying at this point. You don't need the capture. The game's already yours.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't even bother tossing that flag out unless his flag was already out, as we saw. So he's just playing the smart play, saying, all right, my spot's exposed. It takes me 1 second to toss this out and then create a stalemate where we get to just drain the clock.
I have to say, LethuL has been so impressive, not just in this series, this tournament, but in particular this game, in the effect of how he's been playing. Frosty is running this flag, even though their own flag is out. Again, this is just delay tactic. It extends the game to a point where eUnited cannot capture. RyaNoob may have stopped it, but at what cost, right? Is there going to be the chance he gets the capture? Rayne is running it on the other side. Royal 2 is trying to at least stop this return from happening, which he will do so. And slowly but surely, we are looking at a Sentinels 3-1 victory in this series.
About to close this out, but we still got 45 seconds. See if Royal 2 actually can... I like this, actually. Even though this feels like it's a bad play from eUnited, they want to just fully commit to getting all their players across the map because they need like a double or triple cap to bring this game back together. It's almost like not leaving a goalie in hockey or something like that for a moment. They need every single person to push on up to try and put on full offense.
This is quite literally the Hail Mary. That's an NFL reference, I think.
You know, sports games.
Butch will be happy with that one. He likes the American soccer football thing that it is, that they toss the egg-shaped ball. 3 are dead for eUnited and Sentinels now. This is just a victory parade at this point. It has been a masterclass here on Aquarius Capture the Flag. The champions of Kansas City are going to carry on dominating in this pool as the time ticks down. It doesn't matter if flag is out. Sentinels win this series 3-1. It was one of their best game types, and you can really see why.
Yeah, I mean, even though it looked a little scary at the start, it looked like eUnited was potentially going to go up 2-0. they stabilized that game real quick. They got the slays. They're really critical and methodical as far as how they pushed across the map, when they pulled the flags. I mean, I actually would love to see even like flag pulls when it came out to both teams, and we'd see what sort of capture conversion that they had. So taking a quick look here, first at the slays is LethuL and RyaNoob just putting down so much damage across the map and so many kills. So 23, 17, 11 for LethuL, and RyaNoob going 27, 14, and 8.
And we do have to give credit where it's due. I mean, LethuL's position on this team was questioned, and we don't need to beat around the bush. We know it, they know it, but he has kept his spot on this team, and for good reason. Look at what he's been doing in this series. I think he looks like a LethuL who is more determined after going through what he did previously, and it would not surprise me if we end up seeing LethuL lifting yet another World Championship, because he really has been one of the greats of Halo's history. As we look at the damage, then we can see who really were the kind of leaders there, and RyaNoob, 7.2k damage. When you have someone doing that much damage in your team, it's hard not to win a game, right?
Yeah, but even though we highlighted LethuL having second best stats on his roster as far as KDA, it's so Frosty had second most damage. So it just goes to show that stats don't always tell the full picture. One thing I always like to see is who's doing most damage, who's taking most damage. We saw Frosty kind of did second most damage and most damage taken, so he had a very active game. He had himself a very active game.
Yeah, and we get final confirmation of the series there. And okay, it was a Slayer that went in favor of eUnited, but I will say eUnited looked far better in that series than they did previously. And if they can kind of take that momentum, if they can take some of the good things from that series and put it into their future series, then I do think that eUnited can cause a bit of a ruckus. There's still no reason why they couldn't push top 4, if not further in their eyes. Every team wants to win.